Such a good boy. You want to see? I keep trying to.
Just gonna wait.
I keep trying to buy these cups for. I really wanted to buy one for Edwin because his wife said he can't have one.
A cup?
A cup. It's like a shaker.
Okay.
If I could fucking. There it is. It's just so funny to me. They're waifu cups. It's just animated women.
Because it's too provocative.
Yeah, well, so him and his wife watch that Cold Ones podcast.
They
And
watch the podcast?
well, because
They don't. Do they watch this podcast?
No,
Awful friends.
I know.
Terrible friends.
I have the worst friends. I know
You-
this.
As it's evident with proof.
But no, so they watch it together, and they've been sponsored by these guys. They're called Gamer Sups, and it's like supplemental drinks for gamers. But that's like one.
It's so exhausting.
Yeah. But that's
Got to
what
restore the electrolytes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you ready to do this?
Yeah.
Indigestion.
Indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Welcome into the Garage Talk podcast. As always, this is the Last of Us review, HBO show review, episode 7, Left Behind. I'm really glad they started off present time with Joel.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that
Because to
such a
leave
big
that
left.
little cliffhanger for another week would have been brutal.
brutal for everybody
and
who has no idea.
It was actually probably a good strategic move as well, because I've talked to a few people who are so far fans of the show but haven't played the video game.
Mm-hmm.
To them, this was a very boring episode.
Oh, this one was.
This was they didn't like it as much.
I can see
Slow
that.
going, and they wanted more of Joel and Ellie, and we didn't get that.
Yeah.
So I think it was definitely good that they sprinkled in at the very beginning.
Right.
Joel's alive and he's breathing for now.
For now.
For now. So everybody relax, because the people, that crowd who thinks that this was a more slower episode, a more boring episode, they would be just. I'm sure they'd be actually very upset.
Yeah.
If they didn't see anything.
Yeah. Had no idea what was going on with Joel.
So I think strategically, the setting up of the season and the show was probably for the best that they did give us that at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think it worked out as we get on through this episode. I think it worked out storytelling wise as well.
It was super good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And this is if you didn't play the video game, Left Behind is the DLC that came out afterwards. So it's the same thing. Yeah, it's not part of the main storyline, but it affects it so much. So
yeah,
that's kind of where we are.
Just like the show, the DLC just kind of gave us more. Kind of digs into Ellie's background a bit, because we got a lot of Joel's obviously, but we didn't really know where Ellie came from, and so this kind of gave the spotlight to Ellie, rightfully so, because she's a main character.
And I think it's equally tragic as well.
For sure.
For both characters, they both have this. In this episode, and that's why it's boring crowd. This gave so much juice to not only the show, but even like last episode.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, oh yeah, go ahead.
It just makes the scene between Joel and Ellie that much more powerful.
I agree. Yeah, I loved the getting both origin stories from. I mean, because obviously the show started with Joel's backstory, right, and how different it was from Ellie's, and so we see why he was so kind of reluctant to accept her in. And now with Ellie, we see why she's like holding on so tightly to Joel, because everybody that she loves is just keeps leaving her or dying, like she said. And we couldn't really understand that in that beautiful scene last episode, right? You can't really understand that except through the amazing acting that Bella Ramsey did, but this episode finally gave that some context, and you're like, oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, she is.
And the way they intertwined that with her not being able to leave Joel and not giving up on Joel was very beautiful. And we'll give that to the end of the episode. The thing I really liked about this episode. And if this is your first time watching, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
For the
I don't know why you're joining in
for
episode
the show,
7, but
and also if for some reason you're just joining in, Vince and I are just going to gush over the show, and we're just going to
every time.
We're just going to talk about how amazing it is, and so there's not really going to be any controversy. There's not going to be differing opinions. It's just going to be us pleasuring Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin for a lack of a better term, or maybe that's it.
That's what they say on Reddit, at least.
Yeah. But we open up with Ellie being in a boot camp, academy, military school, whatever you want to call it, for the Fedra, and it was nice. This whole episode it was a nice like slice of life. We get to see all these little things that you don't really think about in a zombie apocalypse. Things that the way the world operates, and we just gotta it just made the world even more detailed.
Yeah.
And I loved her punching that girl in the face.
It was awesome.
What's her name? Bethany?
Yeah, I
hate
so.
Bethany.
Yeah, Bethany can go to hell.
Anybody named Kathleen and anybody named Bethany, we're fighting. And that's a rule for life. That goes within the show and outside of the show as well.
Yeah.
So if you're named Bethany, stay far away.
Get away from me.
So yeah, we open up with that, and like I said, with the expanding the world. I mean, it just showed her. Academy school leader, teacher, whatever whoever he was, but he was saying like, do you want to, you can do a shit job if you want, be on patrol, or there's better opportunity for you to lead, and it just shows you that there's little things that are going on in the background just to keep society functioning, and I think it gives Fedra at least not more sympathy from the viewer, but it's like, hey, they are doing their best they can of trying to keep, civilization as much intact as possible. Yeah, we've kind of seen them overthrown through the show, and we've seen them kind of as they even said in the show, fascist in this kind of militaristic ruling body. But we do get to see a little bit that, hey, it's that this is how we're making it work, and we're doing the best we can. So I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm. I also I found it interesting. I don't know if this was mentioned in the video game, but that she was in the Boston kind of military academy, and I mean that's where Joel is right now, and like it just kind of it shows you like how much more is happening behind the scenes. Like we know Joel's kind of doing the shady stuff, right, and he's doing everything that he can to find money and food and drugs and that sort of thing. And then you have the opposite side of it. You have the Fedra side where it's kind of strict, what you would expect when you're in the military, right? Like strict rules, and you got certain bedtimes, and you got drill at this time, and
lights out at 10.
Yeah,
don't be reading those comic books.
So I thought that was just kind of another cool dynamic that we get between Ellie and Joel. And like I said, didn't realize it was happening so close, or at least in the show, I thought it was cool that it was all just happening in the same area.
And I think it does too in the video game too. I don't want to say too much because I played the Left Behind DLC only once.
Yeah.
So I'm not up to snuff on all the details. But
the remastered one's coming out soon, so
for PC.
Yeah.
Yeah, the minute this show ends, I'm buying part 1 for the PlayStation. I'll pay full price. I don't even care. Like I got to get through that again. And then we meet Riley, and Riley was the actress name is Stormy. No, I think it was just Storm.
Well, that's what Bella called her. Her name's Stormy Reed, I think.
Sounds like a porn star name.
I mean, there's porn star names with Stormy, yeah.
Is there?
That's the one that's suing Donald Trump. Her name's Stormy.
Oh, I didn't realize this.
Yeah.
But, strange name, but she was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but this show, outside of Kathleen, is just bang, bang. Gold for every single actress and actor in this show has been incredible. And again, they struck gold again with Stormy.
Yeah.
She was just such a great Riley. And they even said it in the after episode. It was like we needed somebody who can match Bella, and not only match her, but even kind of go above her.
Right.
And I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah, she did a phenomenal job, and I think the casting is so good. Like when they deviate from the game, there seems to be a purpose behind it. Like it doesn't stick out to me, right? Like it's fine. It still fits in this story, but then when they try to like, make it match the game, they nail it. And I think Riley looked so like I was taken back to the DLC when I saw Riley interacting with Ellie. I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was so cool seeing the chemistry between the performers because it was so natural and so in just the short little bit of flashback that we get with them, it was just so good.
Yeah,
and I like. It's the same thing with Sarah. I want more with. I want to see it. Like let's get another flashback with these two hanging out at Fedra School. Like I want more of these performers performing together because they're so good.
Yeah,
and it's. If this show doesn't win all of this, I don't know what's the award ceremony for television.
Is it Emmys?
Is it Emmys? Yeah. If
this
show doesn't win all of the Emmys,
like I said, it should win Oscars and it should win everything, CMT Music Video Awards,
everything. Yeah, it's. I don't know how
next Super Bowl,
and I don't know how it doesn't because there's nothing that like, look, and we haven't talked about this much on these review series, but things like House of the Dragon, those. And even you can go to as far as to Breaking Bad, whatever top-notch shows that we've heralded for the last however many years. I've never seen such a consistency in incredible performances from such a wide cast of characters within one season of a show.
Yeah,
it's incredible, and I think a lot of credit is due to the directing and the writing as well. But for all of these different actors and actresses to bring these characters to life in such a powerful way with such little time, it's something I feel like we haven't seen before. Honestly,
I don't think you're far off from saying that. Like, obviously, we have some like. What kind of bias is it when it's like the most recent thing that we've seen?
Recency bias.
And
obviously we're very hyperbolic as well. But
seriously, it really does show like when you have the source material so readily available through Neil Druckmann, right? When you have him there helping guide the directors, and I'm sure he had a hand in everything, right? Like he was a busy man when they were like getting ready for this. So like he was probably sitting there during the casting.
He was probably in there with executive meetings like, you want to make my game into a show?
Yeah.
Okay, well I'm going to do all of it. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm going to do most of it.
Yeah, I'm going to be there for everything.
Well, no, we got some good shows. No. I'm going to be involved in every step of the process. Which thank goodness.
Yeah. He's like, I'm sure he probably had a lot of. He was telling him like, listen, video games do not translate well to the screen. They just don't translate well into live action,
especially with your shit writers that you have on these projects.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's just incredible when you see. I'm sure the actors too they're getting all that energy off of Neil because he's so passionate about The Last of Us. Like,
well, he's a director too. I mean, he like I said, he directed the mocap in the video games that he wrote. So I mean, he's had this experience before, and it's definitely showing. Yeah. Coming into the show, even though he's not directing the show, but he is still.
He's still there though. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like George Lucas didn't direct Empire Strikes Back, but he was right there. But he was standing side by side with what's his name, Erwin Kirschner or whatever. Sure. I'm disrespecting an incredible director's name. Sincerely apologize, but you get my point.
We get the point. Yeah. So it's been it's such a so refreshing to like have all these shows, because like you said, they'll have these filler episodes that kind of leave you wanting, right? Like we really needed to see this. Like, couldn't we just go on? Whereas this one is like, we're getting a filler episode that hits, man. Like, it just fires on all cylinders, and we're just like, I didn't need to know any of this, but I am so glad that I did, because now, like, I just love these characters even more. I love the main characters even more now, because, like, I feel for them. And, yeah, all these supporting actors coming in to do these one-off episodes have just been amazing.
Yeah, who's going to win Best Supporting Actor or Actress in Emmys? It's gonna be everybody in The Last of Us against each other.
Just give it to all of them.
Yeah, they deserve it.
Yeah, you shouldn't pick one of them. It should just be, all right, winner for best supporting actor is the all supporting cast of The Last of Us. Because yeah, wow.
It's Bill, Frank, Sam, etc., etc. Tommy.
Tommy's been great.
But yeah, in a show of this quality, there are no filler episodes.
Yeah,
because this
they don't feel like filler episodes.
Because the weight of like even just seeing, and we'll talk about more of this near the end as well. But you know when Ellie and Riley get bit, and she's freaking out, smashing glass and stuff, like compare that reaction to when they lose Sam and his brother,
right?
And she just says, "Grab your bags."
Yeah,
Joel, we're leaving. We're not. We got things to do. Mm-hmm. Like just seeing where she came from and how she is now it's just awesome. I did like, so they're sneaking out and they're walking through these buildings and they found that guy who's dead, who apparently called it quits, which was, to me, it really, I don't want to say it impacted me, but I thought that was such a small, powerful scene, because if you look at the context and you think of everything that's going on, here's a guy who has survived in the apocalypse for 20 years or so, and now all of a sudden he gives up everything that he owns to buy a genuine bottle of whiskey and pills and calls it quits. Like, to imagine what's going on in the world and what's going on with this one character that we don't know, never met, we will ever never know anything about.
Yeah.
To see that kind of like pain and agony of life come to a close now.
Yeah. After all the things you've been through.
Surviving
what must have happened last?
Exactly. Surviving the apocalypse, losing virtually all of your family and friends, and living in a Fedra zone QZ for 20 years. And now there's something that breaks the camel's back. You know, that small tidbit of storytelling in of itself, I thought it spoke volumes in such a non-consequential scene.
Right. Yeah, but it, like you said, I mean, it just keeps adding layers to it, right? Like the world building just keeps getting deeper and deeper, even just through whether it be the set, like how wonderful the set was this episode too.
Oh yeah,
like,
when they're standing on the rooftops looking at the world, and it's like, yep, that's the Boston in an apocalypse.
It's incredible. And then and like I said, we'll get into it later, but like the mall was just set up so good.
Well, yeah, let's get right into it. There's not really much else to explain.
I did want to touch on that that scene though, again, because like it, I'm a big fan of the dynamics, right? Because all these kind of older folks they were younger and lived through the apocalypse, lived 20 years through this stuff, compared to children that were born into this, right? Like they see this dead guy and they're like, whoa. And most kids have like a morbid curiosity, I would assume, towards like that sort of thing, right? But then when he falls through the floor and Ellie starts laughing and like Riley's like holding in laughter and stuff, and they're like kind of back and forth, like it's like, oh, you were laughing too, and she's just like, oh, whatever and stuff, and it's just like, it shows you that life is so invaluable almost. Like there's just something, because you could die anytime. It does, like, it could just happen to anybody and anywhere, and people are very choosy on how close they get to the people around them, and kids, they don't know any better.
This is life as they know it.
Right, exactly. And so
yeah, and that's another thing for you producers, other writers out there in Hollywood. Details are so important, even if you think it's silly and not important. All of these little details that we've talked about throughout the show have allowed us to invest ourselves into this world because it's real to us because of these small details.
Yeah. And
also, I really wanted whiskey after watching this. That whiskey looks real good.
I poured myself a glass. I still have tons of those little bottles. So. But yeah,
pause.
Right. And as
cheers, Ellie.
As much and as like big as like video games have gotten over the course of 30 years or so, I think gamers too, especially like, and maybe probably closer to our age, we like that kind of detail. I mean, we talk so much about how much we love games that can tell a story just through the environment that we're running in. I talk about Skyrim all the time, and you just find these little stories that there's no quest for, there's no names to them, but you can kind of flesh out something that's happened just based on what some guy making, like, designing that part of the game was like, I'm going to add this here because it's just cool. And
Well, imagine. I mean, they have teams of writers. So, like,
Right.
and even in a game like The Last of Us, you have a writer who invests all of their energy and time into the small little side story
Yeah.
or whatever it is, and it's like to him that's everything.
right.
And because of that, that's what makes the world real to us, because there was so much care and attention into the small detail that you would think should be overlooked, but because there was so much care and effort put into it, it makes the entire game as a whole better.
Yeah, if it's just like if whoever's making movies and stuff, if you don't even, if it's just a job to you, it's like just get out or whatever. Who was it?
No, we all got to make our money. If you're good at writing, get your money.
Get your money, but also if it's bad, I'm gonna let you know it's bad and don't come back until
Yeah.
you start caring. But who was it? Not to get too sidetracked, but it kind of goes along with this caring a lot about
Mm-hmm.
what you're making. It was Austin Butler. He was the actor for like Elvis, and he's been
Yes.
in a couple-
Yes.
Okay, he had a recent interview with Hot Ones, and he talked about working with Quentin Tarantino. And they asked him and it's been said before, where Quentin, even though he might have the take that he wants there and on the first one, maybe he'd be like, all right, let's do it again, and then he'll like say, he's like, why? Because we love making movies. And I was just like, that's so cringy, but I was like, you know what? I like it.
And Quentin Tarantino obviously has proved himself. It's the same thing with Christopher Nolan. He there was a interview with Topher Grace, who's a side character on Interstellar, and he went to the house, and they were filming in this kitchen, and like he opened the drawers, and there was like all this like corn product.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What is all this?" He's like, "Well, they live in a world where they only have corn. Like that's the only source. So that's what everything's filled with." He's like, "Are we going to be showing this in the movie?" And he's like, "No." it's just all
It's
those
just
little
attention.
things.
It's just
they
attention to
make
detail.
it real. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It adds depth to the world building that, sure, it might be, like you said, inconsequential, but it does matter. It just gives more life to it, and it makes it easier to kind of fall into this world and forget that, a zombie apocalypse is impossible.
Yeah.
So
we get to the mall, and this was really cool. It was the filming and the cinematography was just awesome. The colors, everything being lit up, and it gave you this like sense of. It was another small detail of a reminder, like, oh yeah, these kids don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like they, like the whole line with the pun book, and they're like, wait, what's a screenshot?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's just so funny. You don't
It's
think
so
about those
silly,
things.
yeah.
And, obviously money it means absolutely nothing, which I think is a really. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I
Right.
think it's very beautiful in itself. But playing these little arcade games, taking photos, these things are so incredibly powerful to these kids
Right.
because they don't have anything like that in their lives.
maybe they've heard about it from the old folks, right? But
And
they would never have thought of to like get to do that.
And again, it's another layer of storytelling that The Last of Us continues to do, and it's as you're watching it, it makes you obviously we're escaping and getting into this world, but it also gives you a moment's pause to like reflect on your own life. Like there's so much, especially in the 2023, everything that we live, like there's so much we take for granted. So many little things that make life just so wonderful, with each other that we often overlook. And this is another moment in the show where it's like, hey, like these little things, they matter and they're important to you and everybody around you. So I thought that was absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Those two again just nailed it with. I mean, Ellie was so reluctant to go, right? Because she was mad at her friend, and of course, it's your best friend, so like that being mad at them doesn't last very long, right? And so seeing them, walking through the mall holding hands, and Ellie's like has to close her eyes. Which is probably a big deal in the apocalypse, I would assume. You probably don't wanna close your eyes very often.
That is such a huge symbolic gesture of trust.
Right, yeah.
It means more than we could ever know.
Right, exactly. Like, for us, it's kind of funny and cute, right? But then for them, it's for real. It's like, do you trust me? It's like, yeah, I do. I put my life in your hands, right?
I'm literally putting my life in your hands.
Because like a split second too late noticing something and it's over. But yeah, it was just all awesome. The arcade, dude, was so cool when they finally get to the arcade. Oh my gosh.
I wish we can get some arcades looking like that around town here.
Right.
That was a great looking arcade.
Yeah, it was cool. And it was a fun little another fun little piece of world building where, you know, Ellie had the Mortal Kombat poster in there, and they get to actually play Mortal Kombat, the OG Mortal Kombat as
Mortal
well.
Kombat 2.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
didn't she see an arcade like that earlier on in the season? I'm pretty sure, where she made a comment. I can't remember which episode, but I'm pretty sure there was an episode where they were wandering through somewhere and she saw a dead machine somewhere and made a comment about it.
Oh, maybe I think it was a pinball machine.
Okay, I thought it was Mortal Kombat. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
But still, even a pinball machine, it just shows it's more depth to the character. These are, not only is this something that, you know, kid likes arcades or video games or whatever. It's a, oh, this was my last moments with my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and the scene and the directing and everything was amazing when they zoomed out of the store and showed you the zombie.
And of course, it's in the creepy doll section of the mall, dude. Like, it's like what a kind of like a, you know, a stereotype of like of horror kind of genres. But they did it so like you didn't even care that it was just like the cheesy thing that you do. It worked so good because like they started zooming out. I was like, okay, cool. We're gonna start seeing some zombies. Oh, it's gonna be in here. Oh God! And then again, the setting was perfect. The makeup and costume was so gross, and it's worked so well.
And then we had that teasing us for the rest of the episode.
I know.
Every time something happened, we're like,
happen. You thought it was just gonna happen right away. And they just kept drawing it out, and you're like, when is it going to happen? To the point where you almost kind of forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you kind of just like, okay, maybe they're good, which you know is never true. But
yeah. But that nugget of hope is always there. Yeah, and the rest of the episode really was. After that, it came right back to Ellie and Riley, and it was their story. They're fighting, you know, their differences, and you know these two almost false ideologies that have been thrust upon them, and now they're forced to make a choice. You know, when she's talking about
feeling like you have to choose between the two.
I was going to be on, what did she say? It was sewage duty or whatever.
Yeah.
I was going to have to guard people who are shoveling shit. Like again, but it just gives you more realization of what life is like, and anybody would feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, yeah, of course I would try. Of course I would join the Fireflies. You think I'm going to do that the rest of my life?
Yeah.
I'd rather go risk my life than do that. And that just built even more. And then, you know, their fight, Ellie storms off, you know, knocks over the trash can, but then she comes back. She comes back because she has to. And then they have the tease. They tease us too of thinking like, oh, she's going to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So that's what Ellie meant about everybody leaves me, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I thought it was very beautiful at the end when, you know, they were dancing.
Yeah.
And then
which they nailed the mask too. It's okay.
Terrifying. But they had this scene, and it was so beautiful and so powerful, where it was like, in the moment, you know, of us, like, yeah, I'm okay. I don't know what we're gonna do, but I'm not leaving. I won't leave you. Mm-hmm. Like, we're gonna stick together, and no matter what that looks like, we're gonna figure it out together. And that was just. I thought it was so well done again by both performers, and it was just got me crying again. Got me crying again constantly with this show.
Yeah, and like I said, because for us, like we've loved Ellie before the show came out, right? And
yeah, probably my favorite video game character of all time. I think I've said that on this review episode.
So.
I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, like we both love Ellie, and just like when we see her happy, we're just so happy for her, and we know it doesn't last, but we're just so happy that she like experienced that, you know. A young kid that has never gotten to love anybody yet, and finding out that person loves you back the way that you love them is like, you know, we've all been there. It feels great, and yeah, and so obviously then that's kind of when shit goes down.
Yep. Then the infected shows up. They fight him off, and then they realize that they're both bit, and it's just like. We all knew Ellie was going to get bit at some point,
right.
But then seeing it with, you know, with her best friend, right? That's just like,
well, and it was again just it's crazy. I mean, like Ellie is like, she's almost borderline kind of psychotic a little bit. Because I mean, we saw, obviously you have to be a little crazy to be in this world, right? But I mean, when she finally killed the zombie with her knife, and she's like finally realizing like it's over. I killed this thing. I killed it. It's dead. And she's like, yeah, like losing her mind about it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was quite interesting too, because we keep kind of seeing little glimpses of that in previous episodes too. That like this kind of infatuation with death and with violence almost is very interesting. And again, it's hard to be like it's her fault because it's what she grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then the realization that they're both bit and they're both just like, we were just ready to spend the rest of our lives together, and now we only have hours, days.
And then that leads to the beautiful ending scene of it, which Riley's actress just fucking home runned it out of the park with that, because I was waiting. I mean, it's such an incredible line from the game. You know, we'll wait here and slowly, you know, lose our minds. We'll poetically, you know, lose.
That made that just that one line made the DLC worth it. It was like,
oh yeah,
so
absolutely,
good.
and she nailed it in the
Yeah.
show, and it was just. It was so incredible. At first, I was like, wait, I want to see exactly how this ends, you know, between them and how she gets to Marlene. But then I was like, no, like that ending of them holding each other like to the bitter end was that's all we needed to know. It was so beautiful, it was so perfect. And then having that perfectly coincide with her, you know, where Joel tells her to leave and, you know,
pushes her off.
yeah, and knowing in Riley saying, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, we're bit. The end is now, but we're not going to quit on each other. We're going to keep going, no matter
For
what.
as long as we have.
We know there's no hope, but we're gonna stick the course together because we love each other. And seeing that transition over to Ellie with Joel was.
Like I said,
How is somebody this good at writing? How?
Right.
It's not fair. They need to be making more.
Right.
It's just,
and the thing is,
it's
that
incredible.
It's incredible, and the fact that it's like it's not even like an original idea. We've seen this in stories since man started putting pen to paper. We've seen it all. But the way that you just add your own flavor to it, and the way you can get these actors to portray it in front of you on screen is just like, oh, they're so good at it. They're so good at just giving it their own just twist. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, that's just what makes The Last of Us so incredible, is that it's a genre that we've seen a lot, and they make it original.
And they've elevated it.
They elevate
beyond
and then they
anything we can imagine.
Yeah, and then they give us like a storyline in that genre that we've seen. We know that thing, but then they elevated it some more, and it just doesn't make sense that you can come up with something so original out of something that has been done so many times before.
Yeah.
And it blows me away every time.
And I think a lot of that's so much credit going back to, again, to Neil
Yeah.
Druckmann when he came up with the idea for this video game. Like, that's
Right.
we saw it in 2013 and we're seeing it enhanced even today. And yeah, that's where if you are one of the people who thought it was a slow, boring filler episode, even after us gushing and raving, and we still haven't changed your opinion, these next two episodes are pedal to the metal. Dude. Like, you don't even, like, this is the calm before the storm.
Yeah, we have so much. There's so much amazing stuff to be told.
And like, and here's a little preview for this podcast. Next 2 weeks, going to be even longer and going to be even more gushing. I mean, we saw the previews of, I can't remember his name. What's his name? The guy who Nolan North did in the video game. Whatever, the guy who Ellie runs into while she's hunting.
Yeah, I didn't do a preview.
I can already tell you his performance is Emmy worthy based off the preview.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't wait.
Yeah, oh my gosh. This is like this to me was like one of the scariest parts of the game, honestly. It wasn't even dealing with some of the zombies, right? Like, I can't wait. I'm not spoiling nothing, but this was
We're not spoiling
amazing.
Nothing.
It's amazing.
You think the show's been emotional so far? You just wait. You think this show's been
nothing
impactful
yet.
So far? Just wait. You think it's action-packed? Just wait.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be incredible. I don't want it to be over, though. And we got 3 episodes left.
Is season 2 ready?
I know.
Please.
I hope they're done. I hope they're starting.
That's all right.
filming
We'll
already.
play through. We'll play through the first game, and then after we do that, we're gonna play through the second one again.
I'm gonna have to.
And then by then, hopefully, we're close to it being done. Filming, being done,
It's in production, hopefully.
filmed. Yeah.
It's they're done filming.
Yeah, and again, I'm just so happy the show is working out so well because if there's people in my family that I've wanted to share the story with who doesn't play video games, and they're finally getting to experience it, and I just can't wait. I'm happy it's happening so far. I can't wait for them to see what the things that have yet come.
Yeah. Huh. It's great.
You got anything else for this episode? Left Behind?
No, just again, we've gushed about it all night. You know the whole song and dance because we're gonna do it next week.
Come back next week. Maybe there'll be a Kathleen or something that I get mad about.
Probably not.
Probably not because that actress is dead. But
we hope maybe that
the character is dead. So,
hopefully though maybe those listening and watching maybe they get something out of this that maybe they didn't notice before. That's
well, I hope so. Yeah, we are our infatuation. I'm wording this wrong. Our deep love and our need, our escapism I feel like elevates certain things in material that we can see that other people maybe who aren't as depressed as us can't identify or see right away. And because we have that small, difference in takes.
little bit neurodivergent.
Yeah.
So, all right, till next time.
Till next week. We'll see you next Monday. Another
right.
long week of
Another
me
long
just
week.
crying and waiting.
I know. I'm gonna go drink
Whiskey.
Yep.
And
Enjoy
hopefully
yourself a nice glass of whiskey.
hopefully I find 2 friends as great as Ellie and Riley along the way.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We love you. Appreciate you. See you next week. Goodbye.
Squeeze. Yeah, so good. Thank you for mentioning that about the dead guy. Like, cause you're right.